As we pulled up to the Briarwood Inn, I was psyched. The B&B itself was a charming Victorian, painted a cheery yellow with white trim. The wraparound porch was adored with rocking chairs and a porch swing swayed gently in the breeze. It looked like the kind of place where time moved a little slower. Natalie practically leapt out of the car, her camera already in hand. "Josh, this place is perfect," she exclaimed, snapping a quick photo of the inn's facade. "It's like something out of Clue." I had to admit there was something enchanting about the Briarwood. As we made our way up the porch steps, the front door swung open, revealing a smiling elderly couple. The woman introduced herself as Mildred, and her husband as Eugene. They welcomed us warmly, insisting on carrying our bags inside. As we stepped into the foyer, I was immediately struck by the antiques and vintage decor, giving the impression that the place has become untethered from the present, lost in time. The air was thick with the scent of beeswax and old wood, and the ticking of a grandfather clock echoed through the halls like a heartbeat. The walls were adorned with ornate frames containing sepia-toned photographs of people from a bygone generation. As we made our way up the wide staircase, I couldn't help but run my hand along the wooden banister. It was smooth and cool to the touch, polished by countless hands over the years. Faded floral wallpaper lined the stairwell, the colors muted by time and sunlight. Our room was at the end of the second-floor hallway, behind a heavy wooden door with an antique brass knob. As Mildred opened it, the hinges let out a soft, drawn-out creak that sent a shiver down my spine. "We've tried to preserve as much of the original character as possible," Mildred said, her voice filled with pride. "So many of these old places get gutted and modernized, but we believe in keeping the past alive." Natalie nodded enthusiastically, clearly agreeing with Mildred's philosophy. As for me, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something just a little bit off about this place. It wasn't anything I could put my finger on, just a vague sense of apprehension that pricked at the back of my neck. But as we settled into our room with its light citrus scent and four-poster bed, I pushed those thoughts aside. We were here to relax and explore, away from the stresses of daily life, and with the promise of the Luray caverns waiting just a short drive away, I was determined to make the most of our little getaway. If only I had known then what I know now, I might have grabbed Natalie's hand and run right back to the car, never looking back. But in that moment, with the breeze gently stirring the curtains, everything seemed okay. With a final glance around our cozy room, we set off for the ancient chambers of Luray caverns, blissfully unaware of what lay ahead. The cool, damp air of Luray caverns was a shocking contrast to the warm, sun-drenched world above. As Natalie and I descended the winding path into the depths of the earth, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the natural wonder surrounding us. The caverns were a vast, underground labyrinth, filled with high-ceilinged cathedral-style rooms and towering rock formations. The walkways were well lit, but there was still a sense of mystery to the place, as if we were exploring some long-forgotten realm. Natalie was in her element, snapping photos of the 4-million-year-old delicately folded stone. I had to admit it was pretty incredible. But the real reason we had come was to see and hear the great stalagpipe organ. It was a one-of-a-kind instrument invented in 1956 by scientist Leland W. Sprinkle. The organ produces hauntingly beautiful tones by gently tapping stalactites of varying sizes with rubber mallets, creating a one-of-a-kind sound that echoes through the cavern's ancient chambers. As we approached, I pulled the portable tape recorder I had brought along. I wanted to capture the unique sound of the organ to share with my dad back home. An ethereal melody began to play. Natalie and I stood transfixed, letting the music wash over us. It was haunting, an otherworldly tone. I held up the recorder, the soft whir of the tape barely audible over the echoing notes. As the final notes of the song faded away, Natalie turned to me. "This is so weird," she breathed. "I love it." I nodded. There was something about the caverns that made me feel vulnerable and insignificant when faced with the huge raw energy of nature. I shook off the feeling, attributing it to the chill in the air and the eerie quality of being underground. Instead, I focused on capturing the magic of the moment on tape, a memory to treasure for years to come. If only I'd known then just how haunting that memory would become. The sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon as Natalie and I returned to the Briarwood Inn. We were still riding high on the awe and wonder of our visit to the caves, the ethereal melody of the great stalagpipe organ echoing in our ears. As we climbed the steps to the wraparound porch, the front door swung open, revealing Mildred's smiling face. "Welcome back," she chirped, ushering us inside. "How was your adventure?" Natalie launched into an animated retelling of our experience, describing the beauty of the caverns and the haunting music of the organ. "It sounds like you had a marvelous time," she said as Natalie's story wound down. "You know, we don't get many young folks like you yourselves around here. Most of our guests are a bit more seasoned, shall we say." I chuckled, thinking of the antique decor and old-fashioned charm of the inn. I can see why. This place has a lot of history. Mildred nodded, a nostalgic look on her face. "Yes, indeed. The Briarwood has been in my family for generations. We've seen a lot of faces come and go over the years, but I must say we don't get many repeat visitors." Something about the way she said it sent a chill down my spine, but before I can dwell on it, Mildred was ushering us up to the stairs to our room. As we stepped inside, I noticed something odd. There was a pile of neatly folded clothes on the end of our bed. Our clothes. Natalie stepped forward, picking up a shirt from the pile. "Mildred, did you fold our laundry?" Mildred smiled, but there was something unsettling about the curve of her lips. "Oh yes, I hope you don't mind. I just couldn't bear the thought of you living out of a suitcase like vagabonds." I exchanged a glance with Natalie, a silent conversation passing between us. It was a strange thing for a B&B owner to do, to go through our personal belongings without permission. "It's very kind of you," I said carefully, "but you really didn't have to unpack for us." As Natalie sat down her backpack, I found myself drawn to the old photographs lining the walls. There was something haunting about the faces staring back at me, their expressions frozen in time. "These photographs are cool," I said, tracing my finger along a gilded frame. "They must have so many stories to tell." Mildred smiled. "Ah, yes, the Briarwood has always had a way of capturing its guests." My muscles tensed. Did she know she sounded like a creep? I found myself suddenly eager to get her out of my personal space. "Well, we don't want to keep you," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "I'm sure you have plenty to do." Mildred nodded, that unsettling smile still playing about her lips. "Of course, you two get settled in, and remember, if you need anything at all, we're always watching out for you. See you downstairs for dinner in an hour." With that, she slipped out of the room, the door clicking shut softly behind her. Sarah turned to me, her eyes wide. "Is it just me, or was that really weird?" I nodded, unable to shake the feeling of unease that had settled over me. "Definitely weird, but it's probably nothing. Just a nosy old lady." Sarah didn't look convinced, but she nodded anyway. As evening fell, Sarah and I made our way downstairs to the dining room. The table was set for two with flickering candles casting a warm glow over the antique china and silver. Mildred appeared at my elbow, a bottle of wine in hand. "I thought you two might like a drink with dinner," she said, smiling. "It's a special vintage from our private collection." She poured the dark ruby-red liquid into our glasses. I took a sip, feeling fancy. As we dug into our salad, the wine seemed to be working its magic. Natalie and I found ourselves slipping into easy conversation. Leaning back in her chair, swirling the wine in her glass with a smirk, Natalie commented, "I have to hand it to Mildred. This wine is almost good enough to make me forget about the fact that she was elbow deep in our underwear earlier." "Oh my god, I know," I agreed with my own glass hovering at my lips. Though I have to wonder what kind of business Mildred and Eugene are running here. The whole no repeat guest thing is a bit of a red flag, don't you think? Natalie's eyes sparkled with dark amusement. "What, you think they're hacking up their guests and burying them in the backyard? Seems a bit on the nose even for this place." I shrugged, a smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. "Haven't you wondered why there's no one else here? A quaint little murder B&B could be a smart play. Lure in the tourists, butcher them, and keep their cash and jewelry. It's a decent business model." Natalie laughed. "It's so you to find a way to work a terrifying murder plot into a weekend getaway." "Hey, I'm just saying, there's a market for everything." We lapsed into our comfortable silence, the wine warming our bellies as we worked our way through dinner. "You know," Natalie said after a moment, her words starting to slur just a bit, "if they did want to kill us, drugging the wine would be the way to do it. No stress, no mess, just make people pass out." I chuckled, continuing the joke. Okay, this is getting dark, but if that's the case, I'm flattered. Dragging us would mean that they think we're too dangerous to take on physically. Natalie smirked, raising her glass in a mock toast. Cheers to being too strong and healthy for a pair of geriatric serial killers. Our glasses clinked. The door between the kitchen and dining room crashed open like a gunshot, interrupting the quiet room. Mildred appeared at her side, her smile as warm as ever, though we were realizing she had to have heard some of the conversation. Looks like that wine did the trick. Why don't you two head up to bed? I'll clean up down here. Natalie and I started to exchange a glance, but our faces contorted as we both tried to suppress our snickering. We stumbled up the stairs, leaning heavily on each other, our laughter ringing out behind us. As we collapsed into bed, lost in the warm haze of the wine, I thought about what a memorable trip we were having. I woke up to the morning sun streaming through the lace curtains, my head pounding and my mouth dry. Besides me, Natalie stirred. What happened last night? She croaked. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog from my mind. I don't know. The wine, I guess? You must have crashed pretty hard. She sat up, wincing at the movement, holding her head in her hands. Something wasn't right. The unease from the day before had solidified into a cold, hard knot in the pit of my stomach. We dressed quickly, eager to be out of the room that suddenly felt more like a cell than a cozy retreat. As we made our way downstairs, the silence of the house pressed in on us, heavy and oppressive. Mildred and Eugene were nowhere to be seen. The dining room, so warm and inviting the night before, now seemed cold and lifeless. A note lay on the table, scrawled in spidery handwriting. Had to run out. Help yourself to coffee and muffins in the kitchen. M&E. Natalie and I exchanged a glance, the nervous energy between us palpable. Without a word, we grabbed our bags and headed for the car, the gravel crunching beneath our feet like brittle bones. As we pulled away from the Briarwood Inn, the tires kicking up a spray of dust and pebbles, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Back in Norfolk, the X-Files credits rolled as Natalie and I sat on the couch, a bowl of popcorn between us. It had been weeks since our stay at the Briarwood Inn, and life had settled into its usual routines. Natalie muted the TV and turned to me. Hey, remember that roll of film I took at the B&B? I finally got it developed today. She reached for her bag and pulled out a thick envelope, sliding out a stack of 4x6 glossy photos. Wait, I said. Let me set the mood. I grabbed the tape recorder and pressed play on the organ music. We flipped through the photos, chuckling at the candid shots of each other and beautiful images of the caverns. But as we neared the end of the stack, Sarah's hand stilled. Her face strained of color and a small gasp escaped her lips. Josh, look at this. She held out the photo, her hand trembling slightly. It was a shot of us, fast asleep in our 4-poster bed at the Briarwood Inn. The angle was strange, as if the photographer had been standing right beside the bed. I felt a chill run down my spine as a realization hit me. What the hell? We didn't take this photo. My mind raced back to the stay at the inn, the unsettling behavior of the innkeepers, the strange comments about watching out for us, the anxiety that plagued me during our visit. It had to be Mildred and Eugene, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. But why? What are they doing in our room? Natalie shuddered. I don't know, but it's creepy as hell. What if they did something to us while we were asleep? What if... Her voice trailed off, the unspoken possibilities hanging heavily in the air. I wrapped an arm around her, feeling the tension in her shoulders. We don't know anything for sure, but I think it's obvious that something weird is going on at that bed and breakfast. We sat in silence for a moment, staring at the photo. I couldn't sleep at all that night, my mind racing with thoughts of that night at the inn. Around 3 a.m. I got out of bed, stuffed the tape recorder and photos into a shoebox, grabbed a ladder from the laundry room and quietly unlatched it, careful not to wake Natalie. I jammed the shoebox deep into our dusty attic and went back to bed, already feeling a bit of relief, like maybe the memories shoved into a dark corner, we could just put the whole thing behind us and move on.